Did you hear Ms. Becky Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
If yes, what did Ms. Hill say?
To watch his actions.
Convicted killer Alex Murdaugh could soon get a new murder trial. The South Carolina Supreme Court now agreeing to hear arguments for a new trial after the defense argued the clerk of the court tampered with the jury. Rebecca Hill is facing ethics questions after Murdaugh's legal team accused her of telling jurors not to be fooled by his testimony as they deliberated. Hill strongly denies any wrongdoing.
Did you have any conversation with the jurors where you made any comment about the substance of any testimony or any comment about the merits or the strength of the case?
No.
Let's bring in former prosecutor Steve Baric. Steve, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. So what do you think? Is there enough here for us to retry this all over again?
Well, Rich, I'll tell you, I've been practicing law 25 years, 12 of which I spent as a prosecutor. I've tried hundreds of cases. I've never seen a court clerk engage in a murder trial like this. I think the comments that she made in front of the jury indicating that the jury shouldn't respect or listen to his testimony because it was somehow tainted. I think there is a really good chance that this Supreme Court could grant a new trial. I really do.
You know, there's some reporting out there that perhaps behind all of this is that she wanted to sell a book and therefore a conviction would help her in that case. I mean, is it that? Is it carelessness? I mean, shouldn't clerks know not to say this type of stuff to a member of the jury or any jury member?
Yeah, Rich, I've spent virtually every other day of my life for the last 25 years in a courtroom. Court clerks never do talk about homicide cases like this. Never. The fact that she was writing a book about this, I saw that there was evidence and testimony from other clerks that she made statements that this would benefit her if there was a guilty verdict. She allowed Mr. Murdaugh's picture to be taken in a holding cell. This is outrageous conduct, outrageous. So I don't know what her motivations were. I don't know if she was crazy or this was monetary. This was driven by a monetary concern. But I mean, this is beyond the pale, especially when you're dealing with a trial of this magnitude. It's really shocking, frankly.
So let's say the South Carolina Supreme Court says, we got to do this all over again. How long does this take? What are the next steps involved? I mean, we're going to have to get a new jury here. This is the whole thing over again, right?
Right. And I mean, it becomes very complicated, right, Rich? Because now this case has been extremely prevalent in the media. We're now heard these facts about what this court clerk said. It's very important to ensure that this defendant gets a fair trial. Where in South Carolina can that happen? So if they were to grant the motion for a new trial, it may take another 6 to 9 months to get this thing off the ground again and try it. And it's always tough with, getting witnesses back in line. I think there were 70 witnesses in this case. So this is going to draw out this case for at least another 2 to 3 years.
You think there's any chance that they go back to the county where he was originally tried, or are they going to have to move it out of county? And you mentioned, how are they going to find people anywhere, even in the state of South Carolina, let alone where he was originally convicted?
I think you bring up an interesting point, right? I do think that the next motion from the defense would be a venue motion and seeking to have it tried in another county. This is all a tactic, I think, from the defense to either look for a better deal or look for a better set of circumstances to try this case. Remember, this is a scenario, this is a case where Mr. Murdaugh's credibility is so crucial. It's very rare for a homicide or murder defendant to testify. So what her statements were about his credibility is really crucial. And that's why I think the court is going to grant the defense motion in this case.
Do you think in going forward here that there's any chance that he maybe at least walks on this? He does face 40 years for financial crimes as well, right, or he's already been convicted of that.
No, I think eventually there's sufficient evidence. I think that would probably eventually get him convicted of these crimes in the future. But, you know, look, if I were the prosecutor that tried this case, I would be beyond upset. You know, I would be beyond upset for the victims, for all the time and effort that law enforcement put into this, the surviving members of the family that are in effect, you know, victims in this case as well at this point now. So look, I think eventually he would get convicted, but you know, Rich, you just never know. When 12 people get in the box, you just never know how they come, where they come back.
Absolutely. Steve Baric, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Rich.